Episode 9, Paul Gervase. This has been one I've been looking forward to. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to. People have been clamoring, people have been wanting this. So, Paul, we appreciate you joining, brother. So, thanks for being here. You've been watching all the other ones or no?
Of course, I've definitely been subscribed to the content. Yeah, for sure. Got to stay subscribed to the
Have you been?
content. Yeah, for the most part that I can watch.
What's your what's
My,
your favorite one so far?
the first one, I really liked the first one, where you were like
With
highlighting
just us
everything.
three? So
Yeah,
that's the
with
only
all
one
the
you've
boys.
watched, is what you're saying?
Yeah. No, and I watched the one with Brandon.
Oh, so you've watched two. You haven't watched all of
Mm-mm. Not all of them. Been locked in over here.
them. Okay, that's fair. Well, the boys would love you to watch them. We've had a few guys on, but I wanted to ask, is paulgervase.com still up?
No,
What happened to that website?
we stopped selling merch and I stopped paying for it.
Why'd you
Ellis,
stop? I want to get something.
well, Bobby,
Can you not start it back up?
I could, but one person buying things doesn't supplement the cost each month to keep the
Well,
website
this is
up.
this is why you're on this podcast. We're gonna get this going. You're gonna get thousands and millions of views, and then all of a sudden,
If I get
paulgervase.com is gonna blow
millions
up
of
again.
followers, I'll put it back up. I know.
Well, if you keep doing what you're doing, I think we're on pace, right?
That's the plan. That's the current
Yeah,
plan.
and we'll talk about your season here in a little bit. But I wanted to ask too, how does it feel being the least athletic in your family?
Dude, it's crazy, right? Well, wow, yeah, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, I guess you could say I am, but at the same time,
You might be.
that can't be a bad thing when you have three other elite
No, I
athletes
mean
in your family.
you have an
Yeah.
extremely athletic family, and I think with Will, obviously doing what he's doing, and then your sister as well going to play volleyball
Yeah.
at volleyball, right?
Yeah, she's playing
Yeah,
volleyball at
volleyball at
Virginia.
UVA. Yeah, she just committed, and Will's going to Wake, and your family is all giant.
Yeah.
Um, I know you're how tall are you? And because Will's taller than you, isn't he?
No. I'm 6'10", Will's 6'9", Lily's 6'4".
Okay, so
Yeah.
just an absolute towering family. So obviously it's good for your case, being a tall guy, you have a ton of levers. Has that been something that, obviously it took a while for you to kind of figure out how to throw hard, and we'll talk about that. But like, what do you think as far as like having long arms, long legs, being 6'10", like, what has that helped, for you as a baseball player? What is it that, allows you to be unique with that?
I mean, it's huge, obviously. I have significant advantages that a lot of other people don't have. Um, but for me, the way I use it the best is God made me this way, so got to try to use it as much as I can to my advantage. Obviously, I get to
Yeah.
release the ball closer to the plate. Helps obviously with leverage, getting on guys. But for me,
Hmm.
when I first started training with B Young, it was like working with Chris. Like, how do we get all these moving parts to run smoothly? And thankfully, we finally figured that out
Yeah.
after a lot of hard work, and now we're rolling.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there. I also heard you're a kind of a baseball nerd, savant, if you will, where you can
Yeah,
name like every World Series years and champions. Is that right?
most years, not every year. Once you get back into the olden days, but I
Okay.
can
So like
do
starting from where?
1990 to present day. I could do all of them.
All right. Shoot. Go.
Okay, 1990 was Cincinnati, 91 was Twins, 92 and 93 were the Blue Jays. There was no World Series in 94. Braves were 95, Yankees were 96, Marlins were 97, Yankees were 98 to 2000, Diamondbacks were 2001, A's were not A's, Angels were 2002,
Yeah.
Marlins were 2003, Red Sox 2004, White Sox 2005, Cardinals 2006, Red Sox 2007, Phillies 2008, Yankees 2009, Giants 2010, Cardinals 2011, Giants 2012, Red Sox I think 2013, Giants
Yeah.
2014, Royals 2015, Cubs 2016, Red Sox were 2017. No, yes,
2017.
I think. No, 17 was the Astros. 18 was the Red Sox, I believe. Yes.
18? Uh-huh.
I think
I
18
think
was
you're right.
Red Sox.
I think so. When they play the Dodgers,
19
right?
was, yes. Maybe I'm in 5.
Okay.
Why am I blanking here? 19. Oh, 19 was it freaking beat the Astros. Who was it? Nationals? Yeah,
Yeah,
Nationals were
Nationals.
19.
Yep.
Tw- 2020 was the Dodgers. 2021 was 2 years ago. Who was that?
You get all the other ones, but the
This
ones that
is
happened 2 years ago, you're
exactly the one that happened. I know last year was Astros. 2022
hmm
was Astros. 2021 was. This is bad. Uh,
2021. Of all you got all the way from 90, you said, and then we're struggling on 2021. And Joey will have a graphic
yeah.
to check you on the podcast, so it'll pop
Okay.
up. But
No, 2021 was. No, I got this.
I know you do. You'll get it. Joey, can you look up who won the
Wasn't in
World
that
Series in
one.
2021?
Braves. 2021 was the
Or
Braves. It was the Braves. It was the Braves. It was the Braves.
he
Braves.
got it. It's
Atlanta
Braves.
Braves. That was
Atlanta Braves.
2021 was the Braves. And
Okay.
2022
Yep.
was the Astros. Yes.
Yep. All right. I mean, we'll check you. We'll put up a little list, but
All right.
it's pretty impressive.
I
I'll
think
give
that's
you
all
that.
right.
Yeah. What made you that way? Like, what was the fascination with baseball as a kid that, like, I mean, not everybody can do that. It's a pretty impressive trait that you can do. Like,
Yeah.
why?
Well, when I was growing up, it was I was homeschooled from half of first grade until like half of fifth grade, and then sixth grade and seventh grade. So I lacked all my friends were my baseball teammates. So
Okay.
that was pretty much all I really focused on was baseball, and like I was a big Detroit Tigers fan growing up because my
hmm
dad's from there, and I was just I was like obsessed with baseball. So people get to hang out with their friends at recess. I read the timeline history of baseball encyclopedia when I, because you can only hang out with your brother when you're homeschooled. So
Yeah. And
it
that,
it
so
helped
you
with
knew,
baseball. My permanent throwing partner, but yeah, I
yeah,
just read a lot of baseball books growing up.
yeah. So you kind of knew, like, okay, like, I love the sport. I love the game. I want to see what I can do with it, basically, from a pretty young age.
Yeah, I was always really excited about it. I enjoyed it. It was something that always came easier to me. Like my mom would always get on me, like I can't remember certain things in class, but I can remember who won the batting title in 1991 or something
Who
like
won
that.
it? Who won in
And
'91?
I don't know. I was
No,
just
okay.
saying, like
Okay. I
random
was just,
stuff like that.
I was really hoping you'd have that off the cuff. Like, oh, it was Jeff Bagwell.
I can
I don't
tell
know.
you, Kirby Puckett won World Series MVP in 1991. Kirby Puckett did.
I
If
did.
that's
Yeah.
what you're wondering for one of
That
those.
sounds about right. So, like, kind of going
Yeah.
off that a little bit, you weren't always the best player growing up, and that's something you've been pretty open about. How was that as a kid? Was that something that kind of frustrated you and kind of motivated you, or did you ever kind of get complacent with where you're at, or a young Paul Gervase, what did he feel about not being the best player on the team?
Uh, I would say I was frustrated. I would say I was kind of like oblivious, right? Like I was kind of like go on for the ride. If I would play rec baseball, obviously I would be the best player on every team. But when you
hmm
start playing travel ball, it was like I would bat sixth or something on like every team I'd play, and then I'd play first base, obviously, because I was the tallest kid. And then so it kept getting better and better. And then I played when I was like 12 on this Carolina Cubs, was what it was called, and it was like this loaded team. There's a lot of guys from that team that are playing in college right now. I think I'm the only one
Mm.
playing pro ball right now, but and I was batting 12th and playing left field, and I was like, wow, like I
12?
didn't think I was bad, but this was like, yeah, 12th. We batted 12, and this was like
What?
an all-star team. Like we had a bunch of guys on the team that were really, like Landon Ginn, he was on that team.
Yeah.
Nolan McLean was on that team.
Okay.
Trying Adam Blowbaum, I think he doesn't even play anymore. He was on the team.
Yeah,
A
he came
couple
in,
other
I think.
guys. Anyways, it was that's yeah, the team was loaded. We had a lot of really
hmm
good players. And the next year, I played on not as good of a team and still batting like sixth, fifth in the lineup. And and then I got to high school and is like Tyson Messer, who's one of Brandon's first client, was a senior and I was a freshman. He just destroyed me in everything. And I was like, wow, yeah, it's time to step it up, because I didn't even start on JV that year until Baker got called up to varsity, and then I got to play second base as a freshman on JV, and then I just wasn't very good. I was throwing like 68 off the mound probably my freshman year.
Of high
I was
school?
just like a backup, yeah, like a backup relief pitcher.
Okay.
And then sophomore year, I got to start on JV. Like I was one of their main pitchers, and I had a pretty good year, but like I still wasn't that good. I wasn't getting like any type of interest like most people. Like the really good players get interest when they're sophomores in college or high school. Junior year, relief pitcher on varsity still in there. Like Baker was the star of the show. Like you guys know Baker Nelson. He was the star of the show. Like
He's
me and him
closing.
are the same age.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
closing at state now, and he basically kind of one of that like high
Yeah.
leverage guys. Yep. He's doing well.
Yeah, he's having a really good year. That's
Yeah.
my guy. But like going through high school, it was Baker and then me, because there was only 4 seniors in our class so that played baseball. So I was always like taking a back seat kind of, and he's always cool about it and everything, obviously. But like he was the star, and then I would pitch game 2. So up through senior year, I was like, all right, guess I'm not playing baseball anymore. I got nowhere to go. I don't have any offers. We had just played our last game, and then. Little Pfeiffer University calls, and they want me to play, and that starts the string of everything.
Yeah, and
Finally
we'll
got
get
an
there.
opportunity to play.
Yeah, and I have that on the list, don't you? Where we're going to talk about Pfeiffer and how we got there, because I think that's a really unique story that you have about everything that transpired between that, and obviously COVID kind of threw a wrench into things. Well, actually, I mean, it was probably a decent thing for you.
It was great.
Who recommended you coming in to be young when you were in high school? How did you hear about us, and what were your initial impressions?
Coach Honeycutt, my high school coach, he actually recommended you guys to me because I was like lacking in the velocity department, and he was like, "Hey, you want to get better? These guys helped me when I was in high school. Like, I think they would really help you." And I was like, "All right." So like, I was like doing a bunch of different stuff. I saved up all my money to do a 3D. My dad split it with me. And
really?
we came in and did it, and I paid 600. My dad paid 400 for the first 3D that I had, and it was all in cash. I remember giving Brandon a plastic bag full of cash, and what kind
of under the table dealings you doing? Man?
I went
just straight cash.
Yeah, and Chris caught me in my 3D. It was like Chris was like an intern. It was like his second week there, and he caught me in the 3D. And I was freezing. It was like the end of October, and I'm in my underwear throwing a bullpen. I'm like, what am I doing? And then I came back for the like review assessment. Yeah, and I come back to the review assessment, and there's like all this different stuff that was foreign to me. And he's like, well, this is going to help you with this, and this is going to help you with this, and we're going to end up making you throw 95 miles an hour. And I'm over here like, yeah, okay. And
sure. Did you understand?
Like, came back for my next bullpen. No, I didn't understand any of it, but I was like, yeah, I absolutely understand.
Yeah.
It was like all of that stuff. And so I come back in for my first bullpen, like the one that you have like after the 3D, and I was throwing, and he's like telling me, here, move your hips, like do this, like what he would always say is like, feed the midget was his main thing. So like, get your arm back there, because I was just like over the top. And so we like lowered my arm slot a lot. And then naturally, I had a really good senior year, but like it's still like senior year high school throwing 85s. Still not going to do it a lot. I was throwing like 80 when I came in to be young, so thankfully they got me to 85 in like 3 weeks or like 3 months. And then after that, it was just like, okay. But yeah, my first impression with B Young was I was confused on the first initial 3D, and Brandon was working with me. I was like, what is this dude talking about? But I like understood like that all of this could like I understood that he was like committed to making me better, and I could get that vibe off of him immediately. So that's why I was like, all right, trust these guys. Like, let's go to work if I really want to do this. Thankfully, it's obviously paid off.
Initially, was he pretty tough on you?
Yeah, he was, because I think like the first year or two, I probably wasn't as diligent as I should have been in my workouts and doing the stuff he tells me to work on at home, because you obviously do the stuff when you're there, But if you come back the next week and you're not seeing any improvements, then it's probably on you, because it's not like he's changing up any of his philosophies that's worked with everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I think I was lazy and slacked off a lot on my workouts, and that's ultimately why I had to take the dirt road to get to where I'm at, and it wasn't always like easy. I didn't work as hard as I should have, obviously, in high school, and then
Hmm.
freshman year of college, it wasn't obviously ideally where I wanted to be. But Brandon stuck with me. He pushed me. He would call me. He still calls me like every week, ask me how I'm
Yeah.
doing, like lets me know what he thinks I can improve on, like all that stuff, and it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing that he checks in on everybody, and obviously he thinks the world of you and
Yeah.
everything that you've done. But Chris had a quick question for you. He's not here, but he wanted to know if you remembered if you were drinking two Reigns right before a bullpen and just shaking the whole entire
Yeah.
time you were throwing. And shout out to Rain, we actually sell that now
it
in
was.
here. But what do you
Yeah,
remember
it
about
was.
that?
That was when I was on my velo chaser. That was the COVID summer, and
Did you
I
read
was
that on
coming in
Twitter?
like what
Did you read something on Twitter like, oh, I
on.
gotta just chug energy drinks to
No,
throw harder? Oh, okay.
well, I had had one before, and I was like, maybe if I double this, I'll be able to throw even harder. So I
Yeah,
got on the mound with like 600 milligrams of caffeine, and I was
probably more
like
than that.
throwing the ball all over the place. I was still throwing rockets, but I was throwing the ball all over the place. It was
How hard were you going
hilarious.
the day?
Because I would like 90, 92. I think that was COVID
Yeah.
summer. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And and Chris is up there like, "Are you good?" And I was like, "I think so." And my heart's like, boop, 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 boop. And I'm like,
Having some
probably shouldn't do that
palpitations up
again.
there.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
funny.
drink energy drinks anymore before I pitch now. So
Yeah, you don't need them. How annoying did it get when I'm sure you got this a lot growing up? Like, oh man, if I had your height, I would throw this
oh my
much
God.
harder. How many times? Like, if you had a nickel, how rich would you be, basically?
I would have a lot. I would have a lot of
Yeah.
money. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody says that to me. Even and they would say it when he got to college. When I got to college too, before I started throwing hard, and it was
Really?
like, oh, they always say that, and I'm like, okay, bro, like it's really not that simple. And their other favorite one is if I was your height, I would be in the NBA. I'm like, okay, well, you're not good at your own height. Just because you get my height doesn't make you good. Like
Yeah.
everyone just like tries to use it as an excuse for why I'm good at things. It's because I'm
Hmm.
tall, and that's pretty annoying. But
Yeah.
most of the time it's in good fun, so you just laugh it off. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty irritating when people say that, and you're like, okay, bro, like, but that's not true. It's not that simple.
Chill out.
Yeah, like,
Um,
who do you think you are?
yeah. Well, what made you, obviously, your journey was not linear, right? You had, like you said, you took the dirt road. Like, what
Yeah,
was it that made you want to continue after high school? Because like I said, you said it like, early on, like you were up to 85 your senior year, and a lot of guys will just kind of write you off nowadays if it's only that. But you obviously were very persistent, and obviously you had a lot of self
yeah.
belief. What was it that kind of made you want to continue?
Well, outside of my faith and my family, baseball was like the only thing I loved and like I genuinely enjoyed doing, and I wasn't
Hmm.
really ready to like give that up. And when it came the time that like Pfeiffer was the only school that gave me an opportunity, I was like, well, I can quit now and I can be done with baseball, or I can try to do this, and maybe it'll be difficult, but I can still have a chance, even though obviously going to Division III with no scholarship is a very difficult road to get to where I want to be. But I said maybe if I just take the chance and keep working, maybe I'll get there, and I did,
Yeah.
thankfully. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was tough. It was a really tough decision. But my parents, thankful for them, they supported me every step of the way for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to think it's working out so far.
Yeah,
Going
I
into
hope
that
so.
summer, going into that summer, what were some of the things that you and Chris worked on? What were your expectations? And was there any like ceiling that kind of Chris put you, or Brandon or whoever put a cap on? Or was it always like, hey man, the roof is a ceiling. Let's see how high we can build the roof, basically.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so that was the summer after my freshman year at Pfeiffer. It was.
Hmm.
I wasn't like average freshman year. Still was throwing just as hard as I was my senior year.
Hmm.
Uh, wasn't I wasn't good. Like I wasn't throwing anything past anybody. Like I was getting, if I throw my fastball in the zone, it was getting smoked. And I basically just, my dad, like I said this before, my dad sat me down after that year. He was like, "Hey, dude, like this is not cheap, and I'm paying a lot of money for you to go to this school." And we split it, by the way. My student loans checks will verify that we split it. But it
Yeah.
was still a lot of money for me to go there.
Right.
For me to go there, and he's like, "Hey, like if I'm paying for this, like I'm gonna need you to work hard. I'm not paying all this money to watch you sit on the bench and throw one inning every 2 weeks." And I'm like, that's a pretty good point.
You got a
And
valid point there.
so I just, yeah, he laid out this workout plan for me. He was like, "So there's this giant hill in my neighborhood. It's huge. It's like probably it's like a tenth of a mile, but it's like dead uphill. It's really, really difficult to go up." My dad made me run 10 in the morning every day and 10 at night every single day, except for the day before I pitched at B Young. So then we had that, and then I paid for all of my own B Young lessons that summer because I was working at Olive Garden. And
That's right. Yeah, I want to ask you about
wait,
that
no,
too
was
at
I
some
at Olive
point.
Garden? No, I was working for my uncle. I was working for my uncle that summer, and
Okay.
no, I was working at a grocery store. That's what it was. I was at a grocery store. I was working at Carly C's, IGA, in Andrew. So I was an overnight stalker there, and I was paying for my lessons, and I would get home from work, run the hill, shower, go to bed, wake up, run the hill. I would throw with Will or Lincoln Eiler. I would throw with one of them every day, and then once a week come into Be Young, and me and Chris would get to work. And it's just pushed myself every single day. It was like 3 weeks in, I was already like 88, 89, and I was like, whoa, like, okay, all right, something's working. Kept running the hill, kept throwing, kept working. And that summer, I think we got up to like 92 or 90. I think it was 93 because I got on the leaderboard. I believe. Maybe it was the next summer. It was like 92 or 91 that summer, and I was like, whoa, like this is a significant jump. And I was like texting my coaches at Pfeiffer, like telling them, and they're like, no way, like they didn't believe it. I was like, all right, bro, like I'll show you. And then we go to the pro scout day for that fall at Pfeiffer, and I was like 90, 93, I think. And D3, like nobody throws in the 90s in D3. And like all the pro scouts talked to me. They didn't talk to anyone else on my team. And I was like, well, okay, this is kind of cool. They're like, okay, yeah, we're going to follow you. I'm like, well, this is weird. Like, I've never talked to a pro scout before. I thought I was the man. I was like, I have one. I am talking to pro scouts. But it obviously didn't come with command because that fall I could not throw strikes to save my life. And you can't talk to pro scouts if you can't throw it over the plate. But I had a lot of fun. But yeah, no, Chris, that summer, the summer before Pfeiffer, that changed my life, 100%. I wouldn't be here without Chris, Brandon, any of the people that were there that summer because that was where I just flipped the switch in my mind. I was like, hey, I'm going to go after this. And I'm going as hard as I can. And if I don't make it, I don't make it. But I've got 3 years eligibility left, and I'm going to try to make it. And yeah, so that's what I had to say about that summer. That was the grinder summer.
Yeah. Do you remember that Chris showed me a video yesterday of you? It was one of your like not initial bullpens, but maybe one of your first ones, I guess. It's you throwing, and you're basically running towards home plate. Do you remember that? Like when you would throw it, and like all of
Yeah,
the
it was like I
momentum
was
would just take
jumping.
you forward. You were like getting a sprint down to home
Yeah.
plate, basically.
Yeah, it was like I was jumping off the mound towards the
Yeah,
plate, trying to throw. It was
and that was obviously something
weird.
you were working
I
on.
was just yeah, I think it was just like a drill or something like that. But it was so unorthodox, and that was one of the parts where I was like, "What am I doing?" And then, but every time it would like translate to something better, and I'm like, "All right, well, this plays. All right, let's keep it going."
Yeah,
So,
like they know what they're
I don't
talking
know.
about.
It worked out. Yeah, I guess he
So
does.
following your journey, yeah, a little bit. So if we're going from Pfeiffer, then we go to Wake Tech. A D3 to a JUCO. What were the differences there? What did you learn about yourself? 'Cause obviously any sort of change in scenery, let alone going from a D3 to a JUCO, is going to have some differences.
Yeah, it was a tough decision to leave Pfeiffer. I had a lot of friends there, but financially it was not a tough decision because Pfeiffer was a lot more expensive than Wake Tech, and that was when when I talked to my parents, they're like, okay, like you want to play pro ball, like what's the best way to get there? It's probably to go to a Division I school because what's it like 95% of college players that are drafted are from D1 schools, probably like 98% actually are from D1 schools. And I was like, okay, well, how do we get to a
I didn't
Division I
even know
school?
that.
We have to go to we have to go to a junior college. So I went to transfer to Wake Tech. It was a tough decision, but once I got there, it was definitely different because you got to assimilate to a team's culture. They just went through an entire fall season together, and you were not there. And you joined the team in the spring, and you're trying to find a role, and they pretty much already had their starters picked out, so I wasn't going to be a starting pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And started to come out of the pen. First couple outings weren't bad, and then that's when my command decided to dip out on me. And I think I had like 14 walks in like 9 innings. And then I get there, and I never knew this. If you go from a 4-year school to a 2-year school, you have to get your associate's degree. And I was another whole year away from getting my associate's degree. So I'm like, oh crap, like I'm gonna have to go D2. Like I can't go D1 unless I get my associate's degree. Then COVID hits, and COVID shit saved my life. We'll get into that later, but yeah, Wake Tech, the adjustment there, it was different living at home, obviously, and then just going to Wake Tech was it was interesting to say the least. We weren't that good. We had a okay team, but it was just I didn't really click there at all.
Yeah. You and Jake Murray, who actually just threw for Campbell last night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's where I
shoved.
met. That's where
Didn't
I
he?
met you guys. Yeah, he did pretty well. I actually went to the game.
Yeah.
Dude, Campbell's
Yeah.
legit, man. That's
He's
a
balling.
bunch of
He's
grown
balling.
men, dude. Dude, that team's gonna be good. But yeah, it was fun to go down
Yeah.
there and see Jake. 'Cause that's where I met both you guys. Was when I would come and work out
Yeah.
with you guys and throw and stuff.
You practice with
There's
us.
old Paulie G at 6'10" and Jake Murray. So I remember you guys well, and that was a lot of fun for me.
Yep.
Um,
I wouldn't let you throw me curveballs because I couldn't catch it.
well, now you can.
I wouldn't
I would
let you
like to
throw me
think.
curveballs because I couldn't catch it. Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, now you can.
Yeah,
You're an athlete. So you went. So
now I
how long
am.
were you at Wake Tech then?
Uh, Technically, I was there for the spring semester and then the next fall semester.
Okay,
And
and then
but
the
that
fall
like
semester.
that
Then
was
next year,
COVID.
COVID.
That was all
Yeah.
COVID.
So walk me through that.
Yeah. So 2020, I'm at Wake Tech in the spring. I'm having a very mediocre to below average season, and
Okay.
then COVID bangs the year, and I'm like, crap. That was my second year eligibility. Can't play JUCO ball next year. Like, I'm in trouble. Don't know where I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to school, and the NJCAA says that this year doesn't count, and we get another year eligibility. I'm like, let's go. That's huge. So I get to play another
Yeah.
year of JUCO ball, and that summer, I had a lot of like Division II NAIA Division III offers, but I was like, that is not my goal. That summer, me and Chris went to work, and I went from like 90 with no command to 95 dotting up in that whole period. And then in the winter and the fall, we started doing like 5ABs and stuff at Wake Tech. We never really had fall workouts because of COVID, so we'd have to organize it on our own. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing well. I was really confident going into the season, and coach texted me. He was like, "Hey, like, I don't know what's going on." I was like, "Are we having a season?" And he was like, "I can't guarantee you. I think we will, but I can't guarantee it." And I was like, "Well, I'm not taking a chance on like if you can't guarantee it. Like I'm going somewhere else. I didn't want to take a chance on missing out on a season." And so I talked to a lot of different people, and we decided for 2021 that Pitt was definitely the place for me to go. Pitt CC. They've had a lot of really good players come out of there. And Coach Eason is obviously known for his ability to produce good talent, and he's a good coach. And so I decided to go there, and that was Pitt. That season, that whole 6 months that I was there. I mean, that was incredible. Like I enjoyed every second of it. I miss all my teammates. They're all to this day still my good friends, and
Yeah.
I had so much fun playing baseball that year. And that was when it was weird. That was when I started to gain the confidence. Like, hey, like I'm actually good. Like I'm good enough to compete with the best players.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Pitt was a lot of fun, and that's obviously thanks to that that COVID off season, me and Chris really we put in the work that COVID off season. It was like, all right, like how bad do you want it? Because that's how much he was pushing me. He was still running the hill, and that's when I started working at Olive Garden to pay for everything. And I
Yeah.
was waiting tables at night and throwing rockets during the day in the B Young bullpens. So it was an unorthodox life. And then
Yeah.
I went to Pitt and started working at the Olive Garden in Greenville, and it was lit.
Yeah. So you're kind of like an Olive
So
Garden legend, right?
yeah, they
I've
called me the breadstick man when I was at Pitt.
so,
So
but like,
that was kind
didn't
of
you
fun. I
say?
would bring my
Didn't
teammates breadsticks after I got off work.
would you really?
Yeah, I'd bring
Plug,
them
dude.
breadsticks every day after work.
That's incredible. I
Yeah,
would be. Those breadsticks are phenomenal. They do a great job there at Olive Garden.
yeah.
But yeah, I remember you telling somebody this off season like you would just crush it on tips because everybody loved you. Um, is that
I
true?
was. I did really well. Yes, did really well actually, when I was at Olive Garden
Okay.
because like I like talking to people. People obviously at
Yeah.
first question they always ask how tall I am as soon as I walk up to their table. So then you like turn it into a little game, and you'll be like, "Well, how tall do you think I am?" And then you ask them all these. If you question them back, then that gets it. Like, okay, it's an interaction, and then they like you, and then they tip you good. So it
Yeah.
was
Is that
kind of a good little
Did you
formula
have
going on.
regulars? Did you have regulars that would come in for you, or I mean, how does that work at Olive Garden?
Yeah, I had a couple of people that would ask for me when I got there. It was kind of cool, but I only worked like 2 or 3 days a week because of baseball.
Hmm.
But
Gotcha.
people would, I had a couple of times where they'd ask for me. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I've never had that before.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it's
Kind
pretty
of, I want
sweet.
to jump back to something you said a
Yeah.
little earlier. You said, you loved your time at Pitt. There's an Instagram post that we'll
Loved.
put up. It says, "Thank you, Pitt baseball, for the best 5 months of my life with my best friends in the world. Hashtag 30 out." Obviously, that place meant a lot to you, and you have a lot of good. You still talk with a lot of those guys, I would assume. Um, and you've kind of already hit on it, but like, I want you to kind of go back to it. Like, what was kind of one of your best moments that you can remember being at Pitt, and why was it something that just really stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, we did everything together at Pitt. It was like if we were gonna do anything off the field, it was like the whole team would go, and it was awesome because like there was not like any bad apples in the group. Like
Yeah,
some teams you have that guy that when they walk in the room, you're just like, but we
yeah,
didn't have anybody like that at Pitt, and it was cool. We did everything together, and then once we got to the conference tournament, I think we were like the 4 seed. Game one, guess what? We're playing Wake Tech. Game one, and I
really,
punched out like 4 out of 6. Closed out the game, got the save, kind of stared into their dugout a little bit, and that was blasted. And then second game was Catawba Valley, and they were like the number one all world team, like 5 losses, and we smoked them. We hit like back to back homers. That was awesome. I didn't have to pitch that game, and this was like the first time in my life like I was actually having to pitch like multiple times in a week, and I was
hmm
worn out. And then
I remember
next
that.
game
Yeah,
was like I think it was regional semi. Yeah, it was a regional semifinal, and we were playing Brunswick in the final. And our starter went like 7 shutty, 11 Ks, and Coach Eason called out on the bullpen, Trace, you're in. Go in the game. First dude, lead off double off the wall. I'm like, this is gonna be fun. And then he ends up scoring, and then we go to the ninth. I got out of it. We went to the ninth. It was 3-1, and I punched out the side to end the game and send us to the finals in the ninth inning. And it's like I said, there was no egos. Like I'm like fired up, and like everyone runs out and out like, yeah, let's go. Like they're all fired up. Nobody's jealous. We all just wanted to win.
yeah,
And unfortunately, we did not end up winning. We lost the next 2 games to Patrick Henry, and did not get to go to the World Series, which sucked. That's one of the
yeah.
It's the second most difficult loss I've ever had was that one right there.
What was the
That was
first?
really frustrating. In the regional final against Southern Miss last year when I was at LSU. But
And
we'll get
yeah,
into that later. That was a whole different.
I'm about to say that's a good
But
segue to
yeah, that was
the Bayou.
yeah, no, it was. I committed to LSU in April. It was wild when Coach Dunn originally emailed me back because I sent emails to 270 Division One schools. Like that was my other part-time job is I would email schools and DM them on Twitter.
Really,
Almost none of them responded. I think I had like 16 schools actually respond, but
really.
LSU was one of them, and that was wild. Yeah, Colin Dunn, he emailed me back, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to talk tomorrow," and I'm freaking out. And I called Will, my brother, and I'm like, guess who just emailed me? And he's like, who? I was like, LSU. He's like, no way. And I'm like freaking out. And I talked to Coach Dunn, and I'm like so nervous when I'm on the phone. I'm like, please and be interested. Please be interested. And they're like saying they're liking me, and I'm like, all this. I'm like, you guys have never seen me play, but like I'm cool with it. And then in April we kept talking. It was Brandon actually put me on with a guy who put me on with Oregon State. And Oregon State was my other school that I was considering. It was LSU and Oregon State. Which shout out to all the North Carolina Division I schools. I had 0 Division I offers from schools in North Carolina, which is
But
interesting to say
we
the
tried.
least.
We
But
tried, and that's their loss.
yeah, I know.
So, I mean, me playing in that conference, like I understand how big a deal it is and how much people
Yeah.
appreciate just baseball in the South. What kind of adjustments
Mm-hmm.
did you have to make going from D3 to JUCO, all of a sudden one of the most prolific programs in all of college baseball?
Yeah, it was wild. Like Coach Maneri, when he offered me a scholarship, I committed on the spot, like on the same phone call that he offered me a scholarship. I was so excited,
Did you really?
and so that was, yeah, it was the same phone call. I was like, "Can I commit now?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, let's go. I'm coming." And that was awesome. And then once I got there, I was like, "Okay, this is a whole different world." I'd never been to Louisiana before. I didn't get to go on a visit or anything, so I didn't know what to expect. And you get there, and it's like football season's right now, and you know how crazy LSU fans are about football.
Oh yeah.
And so I go into my first game at Tiger Stadium. We're playing like I don't remember what it was. It was some small school that we crushed, and it's like 100,000 people in there. And like you go to games at NC State and Carolina growing up, but this is another level. It's like
It's different.
SEC football, and Death Valley, the real Death Valley.
The real
It blew my mind. I was in shock. Like the tailgates, everyone within like 5 miles is tailgating for the game, and then we all tailgate together, the whole team. And that was when I first started to like really feel a part of the team. And because at LSU, guess what? Same thing. Everybody does everything together, and it was really cool. And we had a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that first football game, I was like, whoa, like this is cool. And then I had my own locker, like with a picture of me and like my name on it. And I was like, okay, this is all right. This is awesome. And
Basically, wake me up.
I fell in love with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I fell in love with it right away. The stadium is incredible. It's bigger than any place I'd ever been in. I walk in, I'm like, oh my gosh. And Coach Johnson, who wasn't even the coach that offered me a scholarship because he got the job in June, he said he was still really interested in having me and all that stuff. And thank God he's the best coach I've ever had. I'm so grateful for what he did for me and his belief in me. And the whole fall, I had a pretty good fall, but I would say above average fall. Not great though. I didn't like establish any role going into the season. But he still always would tell me how much confidence he had in me and how he knew I was going to be great. And that obviously helped me going into the season.
Yeah. Yeah, he's obviously they have the super team down there now. I think they're actually number 2 now to Wake Forest, who Will is committed to. So
Behind
is there
Wake.
any kind of
They're behind Wake.
crap talking going on there or no?
Oh, yeah, we're talking all the time. I'm hoping they meet in the finals. That'd be awesome. And hopefully the Tigers take it, obviously. But, yeah, me and Will, it's wild, right? We're going to the two
Crazy.
best baseball schools ranking-wise in the country.
Yeah.
And we both took the dirt road to get there. But,
Yeah.
it's wild. I talk to him about it all the time. We're talking about the Wake Forest. We talk about Wake Forest and LSU and, like, who's going to win and all that stuff.
No, I think they both should make it to Omaha this year, and obviously you can't go, but should be a fun. I would like to go, so it might be a fun trip because I know the Rebels probably aren't going to make it this year.
Yeah, so would I.
But they got their natty last year, so
They sold their soul for last year.
were there any nerves?
Yeah,
any doubts?
Yeah, there was a lot of nerves, a lot of doubts.
Yeah.
I went into my first outing. We're playing Maine on opening weekend. And I'm like, okay, I don't know when I'm going to play. I'm just chilling in the bullpen in the dugout, 7th inning. JK, our pitching coach, Jason Kelly, he's like, Paul, go down there. I'm like, oh my God, I might get to pitch today. Because there's a ton of people. It's opening weekend. There's 13,000 people there. I'm like, okay,
wild.
these people care about baseball. This is pretty legit. Yeah. And he says, you're in the game. I had the 9th inning, game 2 of the weekend. And my first pitch was like a 45-footer. spiked the crap out of it. I was up there on the mound like shaking, and then I would like reset, and then I had a 1-2-3 inning, a couple of strikeouts, and I was like, from there it was just like breathe, like let's go. And then
Yeah.
I had a couple of good outings. I had a couple of good outings in a row, and then we went and played at the Astros Stadium for like the Shriners Classic, and I got in on that Sunday game. I run out from left field bullpen at the Astros Stadium. I'm looking around, purple and gold everywhere, and I'm like, whoa! I'm pitching in a major league stadium in front of a bunch of fans, and this is literally the best day of my life. And I had a pretty good outing up until the end. I gave up a homer, and then I was like, crap. Like, I didn't know what my role was going to be, because then the 2 weeks later was SEC play, and like we go into SEC play, nobody knows what their role is except for like the weekend starter. We had 2 at that point, but we ended up with 1 pretty much for the whole year. And we get into SEC play, and first jam, he's calling down there, Paul, get loose. I'm like, oh, let's go. So I had a kind of rough first outing, and then against A&M, we dropped 2 out of 3, and then we go to Florida, and they smoked us on Friday night. They had an All-American Friday guy, pitched really well. And then Saturday, we're 1-3 in the SEC. You know, LSU fans are all like, oh, the season's over. Like, this team's terrible. I'm like, okay, yeah, same old, same old. And then we go out, and we scored like 9 in the first 3 innings off their starter that throws like 100. And then they start chipping away, and it's like 9-5, and they have 2 on, 2 out. And coach puts me in the game in the 6th inning, and I got the leadoff, got the guy out to end the inning, and then I went on to throw like 2 scoreless innings after that. And then from there on, it was every time it was a jam, or every time first sign of trouble, Paul, go to the bullpen, Paul, go to the bullpen. And then it was, I think I got my first save. We went to Mississippi State 2 weeks later, and they're the defending national champions. They had 14,000, like 200 people there. And we had a go-ahead 2-run single in the 9th inning to take the lead, and then shut down 1-2-3 in the 9th. Got my first SEC save, and then the next day, come in 8th inning, 2 on, 1 out. We're up 4-3, fly out, punch out, and then 9th inning, go back out, still 4-3, struck out the side in order. And that was, for me, that was when I was like, okay, let's go. Like, I'm locked in. Like, I know that I can be the best pitcher on this team in the biggest situation wherever I want to be in the game. And from there on out, I was closing every game that was close. Obviously, Georgia. You got Ole Miss was a brutal series. Vanderbilt, Arkansas. We get all these great, cool places against these big time programs, and we would beat them. Like, we went to Vanderbilt. Like, Ole Miss swept us the second to last weekend of the year. That was when Ole Miss
naturally
we gave them their tournament berth by letting them sweep us. And then we go into Vanderbilt, and teams are like, oh, is LSU even going to make the tournament? Are they even good? Like, Vanderbilt's like 13th in the country or something. And we sweep them. We scored like 52 runs in 3 games. I closed out the second game, and we swept them. And we went into Hoover, the 4 seeds. We got the double bye. And then we beat Kentucky, and then we lost. We played the God Squad Tennessee team, and they beat us.
They were good.
But we competed with them. It was like 5-2, I think, was the score. And we had our two best hitters were hurt.
That team was really good, though.
Yeah, my roommate here actually was the Friday guy on that team. Blade Tidwell.
He was?
Yeah, they were really good. Yeah. So we lost to them, and then we lost the next day to Kentucky. So we're going into regional. We like fringe host, not host. We didn't really know where we were going to be, and then they announced the host sites, and we weren't one of them. So we were obviously frustrated because hosting a regional in Baton Rouge would be sick.
Yeah, it's electric.
And so we end up going to, we go to Southern Miss, and that was such a wild week. We get there, and we play Kennesaw, and we're throwing our guy on, our Friday guy, first game, and they jump him. Like, it's like 8-3, and then they score like 3 more in the 6th, and it's 11-3 in the 6th inning. And then 7th inning goes by, we go down in order. 8th inning comes up. We're like, now or never. We 10 spot them in the 8th. I think we had 9 consecutive base hits. Put up a 10 spot, take a 14-11 lead. I came in the 9th, shut it down. We won that game, and then the next day, we play Southern Miss, and their crowd, they're yelling things about my girlfriend, yelling things about my family to me when I'm in the bullpen throwing beers at us.
That place is crazy.
It was a lot. It was a fun, hostile environment.
Hattiesburg is wild, dude.
Yeah.
They get after it down there, man. I that was probably not the worst. It was a good atmosphere, but it was probably the like you said, like the worst stuff that you could say. Like they're ruthless, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was brutal. And so I that was fun though. Like that hostile environment for us was awesome. So we
Hmm.
would feed off of it. And so we're down game two. We're down 6-2 in the ninth inning, and then Cruz is best player on the planet, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's
Homer
good.
over the scoreboard. Or no, it was 6-3. No, it was 6-2. And then we get uh, two outs, nobody on, and then hit by pitch. Doty 2-run homer, 6-5, and then we get single stolen base, RBI single, tie the game in the ninth inning. Everyone's going crazy. Coach radios down the ball like, "Get your face ready, get your face ready." Get out there, go out 1-2-3, top of the 10th inning, and then we walk them off in the bottom of the 10th to go up 2-0 in the regional. And that's right there. I was like, okay. And that was when Ole Miss was running through their regional, and we were going to host the Super if we won the regional. And we were all rolling. We were like, okay, like we can't get beat. Next game, of course, Southern Miss has this guy that like hasn't pitched all year, goes 6 shutout innings, just dominates us. And we go into game 7, which like game 7 of regional. You've been in those. It's
Yeah.
all hands on deck, do or die. Winner goes to supers. And our starter went 3, and he came out. It was 3-1, and he came out. We were winning. And I came in the game because Coach Johnson called me the night before. He said, first, any trouble, you're going to the game, and we're going to need to get some length from you. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And then I came in, and my command wasn't great early, but I battled for 3 innings. I think I allowed 1 unearned run in 3 innings, and then I was worn out. I'd thrown like 58 pitches. That was my 3rd time pitching in 4 days,
Jeez.
and it was the most pitches I'd thrown all year. The coach comes up to me. I leave the game. We're up 3-2 in the top of the 7th, and he's like, hey, like, we're going to somebody else here. You gave us everything you could. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I wanted to compete. I wanted to stay out there, but I trust Coach Johnson with everything. He knew what he was doing. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. They rallied in the 7th and 8th innings,
Yeah.
and we tied it. Dugas hit a homer in the 8th, and then they scored in the 9th to go ahead and beat us 9-8. And it was like that one hurt more than any loss I've ever had because I had so much fun playing at LSU because it's like literally it's as close as, in my opinion, it's as close as you can get to the major leagues as far as how much they take care of you, the quality of everything, and all that stuff. And then you're a bunch of 19 to 22, 23-year-olds, and you're having the time of your life playing baseball because you always just want to win. And it was, man, that was so much fun. I loved LSU so much to this day. I would live there in a heartbeat. I love everything about Louisiana and those fans. And I wish I would have had another year, but it worked out differently.
Well, I'd argue that you get treated probably better in the SEC than you do in some big league clubs. Not all, but there's some for sure. You
Probably.
know, yeah. Well, you kind of laid out the whole season there for me, so I appreciate you doing that. And after the season,
Yeah.
you started prep for the draft. Was that something that you ever in your
Yeah.
wildest dreams could imagine? Obviously, you worked for it and you wanted it, but did you really like? You kind of said you had some doubts. Was there anything that kind of held you back in thinking that, hey, I could get drafted this year?
Yeah, I had, in the fall, you had the meetings with the teams, like, and I had a few meetings with the pro teams, like, telling me they're interested and all this stuff, and, like, go out there, have a good year, like, don't think about it. And then once the season ended, it was like a week after I recovered mentally from the loss, and I
Hmm.
started thinking, I was like, I mean, I had a really good year. I'm sure there's definitely opportunities with the draft coming up, and I started to get calls from the scouts and, like, asked me what I was doing, and I was like, I could probably go up to the Cape and, throw some more innings. I went up to the Cape, and that was where I met actually the Mets Louisiana area scout. His
Okay.
name's Chet Butler. He's awesome. He's talking to me, telling me they're interested in me. He was watching me throw it. Had a pretty good time in the Cape. Pitched there for 3 weeks, and then came back home for the draft. And then the draft comes around. I was thinking I was going to get picked somewhere in the 4 to 8 round range. I mean, I think I had the second lowest ERA from any SEC reliever last year. And I was like, okay, that's good enough. I had really good numbers in this. Like all these teams calling, ask my number. I'm like, I'll take you. Call me and tell me you want to pick me, and I'll tell you yes or no. And they would call me, and then it started. With the older guys, they were trying to undercut me, trying to get me to take senior sign money. It's just way less, like because teams are trying to save money at the end of second day of the draft. And at that point, nobody picked. I didn't get picked on the second day. I was so mad, dude. I don't remember last time I was that angry. I was like, that makes no sense. Like I was good enough to go. Like I met the criteria to be selected. You seen that Isaiah Thomas thing from The Last Dance? Yeah, and I didn't get picked, and I was like, I was really frustrated. I thought I was going back to school. I told Coach Johnson I was going back to school, and which was a mistake. I wish I didn't do that. And the next day, my agent's like, hey, you can sign for over slot on the third day. And I was like, what? No, you can't. You have to take 125 or less. And he was like, no, you can sign over slot. They just have to dip into their bonus pool. I'm like, all right. So I set my number over the minimum or the maximum day 3 slot. And I was like, some team needs to show me that they're willing to invest in me to get me to not go back to LSU and win a national championship, literally, because you saw they're loaded. And the Mets, they met my number, and it was really hard, that phone call with Coach Johnson after I got picked. I apologized to him. I obviously didn't mean to lead him on. He understood. And but it was one of the best days of my life. I got drafted and celebrated with my family, and it was a dream come true. And I was like, whoa, it was just a whirlwind of emotions that day. And I was just still really thankful that the Mets picked me. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you get caught up in those emotions, man, and obviously being competitive, it pisses you off. You know what I mean? When things don't go the way that they're supposed to, and yeah, I mean that's part of it, man. And I don't, obviously, Coach Johnson, from what I understand, is a phenomenal human being and probably understands and definitely understands, and it's just part of it. But when you get drafted, your first thought obviously is, okay, I got a chance to live out my dream. I get to compete to play in the big leagues, right? Was there any kind of like surreal moment for you that made you feel that way, or is it just kind of you're still so locked in on what you're doing that it hasn't really set in?
Yeah, I try not to think too far ahead. I think that's the biggest thing for me is not thinking, oh, I should be in Double A, or oh, I should be in Triple A, or oh, I want to get to major leagues. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
mostly about being where my feet are. And then last year when I got in, I knew I wasn't going to like go higher than Low A last year. I had a month like once I got there. And but I was like, just make the most out of this opportunity. And when our draft class came in, the team had won the first half, so they were going to the playoffs. And me and my buddy Chase were the first 2 guys to get ready enough to be able to pitch in the affiliate game. So we got
Mm-hmm.
moved up to the low A team, and we had a great year. It was a lot of fun. And then we get to the finals, and I figure it's going to be the same as it is all year with the bullpen, like rotate, take turns, everybody gets their innings. And I pitched twice in 4 games in the finals. This looks familiar. And then in the finals, I got to close out the championship. We won the low A championship, which in the big picture scale isn't a huge deal, but it was awesome for us because it's like as a team, like these are the guys you're going to be moving up through the system with. You win a championship, and it was a ton of fun. We got to do the champagne showers that you see they do in the big leagues, and it was just really cool for all of us, and we enjoyed it. It was a good like intro to pro ball, like first month and a half.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I think it set the ball rolling going into the off season to really work hard to try to move quickly through the system.
Yeah, and obviously you and being part of this program for a while now at Be Young, we obviously had we had a good understanding of how you were moving and what we want to do, what we wanted to fine tune. Obviously, keeping the shoulder healthy was a big part of it. But I want to talk about the reason we opted for a little bit of a harder slider, and I want to know your thoughts on it and what it is that you think is the reason why we did it.
Well, I think the main reason was going in low A last year, guys hit 336 off my slider, and it was not a
Mm-hmm.
very good pitch. It was loopy. It was more of a curveball than anything. It's like 78 miles an hour, and it was getting hit a lot. And I came to you, you came to me. We were like, hey, like I think this is the biggest adjustment we need to make in your repertoire because
Mm-hmm.
if your only threat is your fastball and guys can just see your breaking ball and smoke it, then you're not going to have a lot of success, obviously, in pro balls because my fastball was. So yeah, we went to work and with shape and the velocity, obviously. I think my average slider this year has been like 83. Last year it was 78. I'm throwing it a lot
Good,
harder, but guys are
good.
hitting 0 off my slider this year so far through 11 innings. I haven't allowed a hit with it yet, and it's a pitch that I finally like felt confident throwing in any count. 3-1
Hmm.
sliders, 2-0 sliders, and throw it in any count and go after guys. And for me, obviously you helped me with it so much, and I obviously appreciate it. And I feel like that's definitely been the biggest difference this year from last year is the ability to have that wipeout secondary pitch and not just have to rely on my fastball every time in 2 strike counts to get swings and misses.
Yeah,
And but yeah, we worked on that tirelessly, catch play, bullpens, all that stuff, and thankfully it went very well.
good. And I don't
Very
want
well. It's going
I don't
well
want
still.
to, and I don't want to. We're not going to throw numbers out. Obviously, you're having a lot of success this year. Just because we want to make sure you stay in that present mind, you stay where you're at.
Yeah.
We're proud of you and what you're doing. I want to end with this though. Okay, this is a quote I found. Every level I've gotten to, every different school until I got to Pitt, everyone's told me how I'm chasing a dream. There's no way I'm going to make it. For me, it's just keeping my eyes on the prize and trying to win a national championship this year, and then hopefully become a Major League Baseball player soon. I think that I found that on. I had to give them credit, right? High school OT baseball or highschoolot.com interview. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reading that pretty much sums up everything that you've gone through, man, in a kind of a I don't know, a broad statement. There's a lot of kids that come in here, man,
Yeah.
that are in very similar situations. What would you tell anybody?
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody or younger Paul sitting in the situation you are now, or you were, I guess you should say? What would you tell him? What advice would you give him?
I would say the biggest thing is other people's words and what they think doesn't determine what you can accomplish. If other people are never going to set a high ceiling on you unless it's like someone you're close to, like your parents or people you work with every day that you trust. Like, because I'll never forget that I wrote a paper freshman year English class about how I was going to be a major leaguer when I was older. That was going to be, it was like a career paper. And
Mm-hmm.
my teacher gave me a C because she said it was unrealistic. It needs to be more realistic. And I was like, okay. But
You were
everyone is going to
homeschooled
tell
though.
you all throughout your, not in high school. I wasn't homeschooled in high
Oh,
school.
okay. I thought your mom gave you a C on that.
Yeah, no, no. It was my English teacher. No,
Okay,
that was my
okay.
freshman year of high school, and I went through it, and she was like, "Yeah, that's unrealistic." I was like, "Okay," but my whole life, when I first got to Pfeiffer, and I wasn't that good yet. I would tell my teammates, "Yeah, I'm going to get drafted," and they were like, "No, you're not. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, let's be realistic. You're at Division III. You're at Pfeiffer." Okay, but yeah, that's going to happen everywhere in your life, whether you want to play baseball or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be a doctor. Like, people are always going to give you the reasons why it can't happen, and the people
Mm-hmm.
that are the ones that are going to support you are the ones you need to keep around. And for me, that's what it was. Like, I found the people in my life that believed in me and knew that I could accomplish all that I can accomplish. And for me, that was huge. And obviously, with B Young and my parents and LSU and Pitt and all the help they gave me, I'm very grateful because I obviously wouldn't be here on my own. But I think mentally, it's all about knowing that you control your destiny. Nobody else controls your destiny, and that's what it was for me. That was the biggest thing.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Olive Garden's finest, Paul Gervase. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it, man.
yeah.
Excited to get this one out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Of course, brother. You got it.